I do enjoy backpacking. However, most of my trips consist of hike to a campsite, spend the night, pack up, hike to the next campsite. And if there's something to see around that area, well, may not get to it. There is a solution to that. It's called Basecamp backpacking. That is, you hike to one place, spend 2 or 3 nights, and explore the area. Our trip this time is the Cottonwood Lakes in the John Muir wilderness of the Sierra Mountains. We've got lakes galore, peaks to climb, and beauty everywhere you look. We start with the spectacular early morning view of the Sierra Mountains escarpment from the Owens Valley. We soon see our uphill drive into the mountains via the switchbacking marvel of engineering called Horseshoe Meadow Road. Any passengers on the right side of the car should be prepared for the optical illusion the car is about to go over the edge. But the view is nice if you dare open your eyes. Look for the signs to the Cottonwood Lakes trailhead and find a parking spot. Not always easy during the summer. The hike itself starts at the Horseshoe Meadow Campground, where there are 13 sites with a fee of $6 a night. Directions to the campground and trailhead are in the description. The trail, which starts at 10,000 feet, climbs a little and then ticks off a mile or so, gently descending through an open forest of pines. And then it pretty much levels out. By this point, you're thinking, wait a minute, we have a 1,200-foot elevation gain, right? Is that just going to happen all at once? In a way, yes, but it still won't feel real steep. Such is the beauty of this trail. Well, after 3 miles, we enter the John Muir Wilderness, which was created in 1964. For those who like statistics, it covers 650,000 acres and runs along the Sierra Mountains crest for some 100 miles. Now, being a wilderness, it does have some persnickety rules. One that sticks out to me is no wheeled or mechanical devices allowed here. That means no bikes, drones, or carts. Come to think of it, I've never seen a cart on a trail before. Well, at any rate, even though wilderness is a state of mind, I believe, it's always nice to know we don't have to worry about a drone flying by. From here, the route gets pretty serious about elevation gain, and we do most of our climbing in the next mile or so. About a half-mile later, we pass this junction for Cottonwood Lakes. Veer left for the trail to New Army Pass. The worst of the ascent ends at a lake basin occupied by the prosaically named Lake 1 and Lake 2. Over there is the massive granite ramp called Mount Langley at 14,000 feet in elevation. Mount Langley just barely makes the roster of so-called 14ers and is the southernmost one in California. Now, depending on whose list you consult, there are 12 or 13 14ers in the state and 96 in the entire country, in case you feel like bagging all of them. Langley was named after Samuel Pierpont Langley, who not so famously invented the bolometer, which measures incident infrared radiation. Langley has the reputation, the mountain that is, of being the easiest of the state's 14ers to climb. Now, having done it myself, I can say it's certainly not that hard in terms of technical climbing. There really isn't anything like that. A little bit of scrambling, and that's about it. But it will take you a good day to do it. And from the top, you will get an incredible view of Whitney, the Owens Valley, and half, it seems, of the entire Sierra Mountains. Eyes back to the trail, and we up and down our way through a massive boulder field. I'd like to thank the people who managed to find a route through this mess and not have us go rock hopping from boulder to boulder. Trail builders are my heroes. The trail crosses a small outlet creek and soon comes alongside the southern shore of Long Lake. After a few minutes of level walking, watch for a small trail that splits off right into a grove of trees. We enter the first of many lakeside campsites. For our 9-person group, it's home for the next 3 nights. The next morning, we leave the campsite and go back down the same trail we took to get here. There's the boulder field again, and we pass Lake 2 and then Lake 1, where there's a moment to commune with the marmots, which are in fact beefy ground squirrels. Keep in mind, given the opportunity, they will chew through your pack to get at any food, at which point they are no longer cute. After passing Lake 1, look for a nondescript post on the left and take the sometimes faint trail. A few minutes from here, another mystery marker. Look for that post, turn right. Miraculously, the next post has an actual sign attached, showing us the way to Muir Lake, the first point of interest in our tour. The trail briefly climbs into a forest and lands us at one of the lovelier places in the area. And I give you Muir Lake, named after the late great naturalist John Muir. Now, I'm sure if you've been hiking in these mountains for any time, you will have noticed that John Muir is really well represented here. After all, we're in the John Muir Wilderness. There's the John Muir Trail. There's Muir Pass. There's Mount Muir, or Muir Mountain, or Muir Peak. Not sure which of the three it is, actually. At any rate, you can't escape his name. For all I know, there's a Muir picnic area someplace. In fact, there is. Located in the Muir Woods National Monument, a few miles from Muir Beach. Now, if nothing else, I can already imagine camping at Muir Lake sometime in the future. Certainly, it's a great spot to hang out for a few minutes and tell stories of wilderness nausea.
What was the flavor?
It was a chicken and rice.
Rice, really?
It was a peak reef. All I knew was a peak reef.
From here, we reverse course, turn right at the Muir Lake sign, and return to the unnamed trail post where we head right. From the meadow, we enter these woods and pass a cabin operated by the California Department of Fish and Wildlife. Across from it is Frog Pond, which is technically not one of the Cottonwood Lakes. From here, it's a short walk to the north end of Lake 3, a Cottonwood Lake. And then a brief but steep 100-foot climb above the lake basin to Lake 4, where we get a view of the infamous Old Army Pass, which was the first trail used for Mount Langley or traveling into Sequoia National Park. Now here's a bit of trivia you're not going to hear anywhere else. That first route was originally used by sheep herders. And then in 1892, the original trail was built when U.S. Army black soldiers from Georgia started patrolling the Sequoia National Park. Why? I'm not sure. In 1955, they rerouted the trail to bypass the often dangerous snowfields that covered the old pass. Speaking from personal experience, I'm not sure New Army Pass is much better, but I'm not aware of anyone dying climbing it. Not so with Old Army Pass. Northeast of Lake 4, there's Lake 5, that sports as its backdrop these amazing granite cliffs. For that reason alone, it deserves a moment of our time. We double back to Lake 3 and find a faint trail along its shore, some of it hidden by heather, that takes us to the same meadow where Lake 1 and 2 are located. And we connect back up to the New Army Pass Trail and eventually our campsite at Long Lake. Good hike.
Just use those? Okay. I've got two there.
Time for an annual tradition, quesadilla night, where everyone brings fixings and tortillas. Special thanks to the person who led the frying pan up here.
This is margarita.
Now, what's this?
These are chips.
Delicious. Oh.
Beautiful.
Yep.
Thank you.
That's an interesting angle.
Wait, Bill, don't move.
What is it?
We did good.
Yeah.
point, it's time to climb Cirque Peak, a nearly 13,000-foot high pile of boulders above us. The trail immediately launches uphill through barely vegetated alpine landscape. It then flattens out for a moment before climbing again. Eventually, we reach the base of an imposing cliff. Our first point of interest is High Lake. It tells us something about the altitude here, which is 11,500 feet. So it is literally high. Our next challenge is New Army Pass, which is another 800 feet of elevation gain. The trail from here, though not visible from the bottom, is well built and maintained. Were it not for the altitude, it might not even be that taxing. The stark scenery is at least compensation for all the effort. Now, for many of you, you're going to find this last section covered in snow, and it can be icy and a little tricky. But because we're doing this in September, it's clear. As a matter of fact, it's the first time I've ever seen this trail clear. New Army Pass. Elevation 12,295 feet. Route funding from here isn't what you would call complicated. See that peak? That's Cirque Peak over there. Only 600 more feet of ascent to go, and we're on the summit.
Yeah, okay.
From the pass, we can easily see the route to Mount Langley, in case anyone in the group wants to head in that direction instead. For the record, there were no takers. For me, the sign is hallowed ground. That's because this is where I asked my wife to marry me. For hardcore hikers out there, you might find that charming or even romantic. To be sure, she didn't say yes. She said, "Only if you carry me back down." She married me anyway. It's not complicated finding our way to the Cirque Peak summit. Admittedly, it can be a bit tedious with all the rock hopping, but the route itself is simply following the ridgeline by traversing to the right of it, staying lower rather than higher. Look pointier from the bottom. Yay!
Okay, Jackie, we just summited. Did you guys turn around, or what are you going to do?
The rest of our group are having second thoughts about making it to the top. The mature philosophy here is don't do anything you're uncomfortable with.
So Annette and Jackie are heading up?
Annette is a little leery.
We're in the real rocky part and we're not quite sure where to go.
Sure, but that doesn't get through.
Are walking down.
Cammie and Jody are walking down.
Jody and Cammie are walking down. We're not hanging out.
Okay. Got it.
I've been coming up to the Cottonwood Lakes area for 25 years. And every single time I would look at this peak and tell myself, I've got to climb that sucker. And finally made it to the top. 12,900 feet. Time to go back down. Once at camp, another tradition. A dice game called Zilch that runs long enough for everyone to get cold and escape to their tents. The next morning, the 6.5-mile return trip actually goes quickly and easily. Up and down, up and down. Almost there. So what did you guys get in?
Just right now.
Just right now? Oh, okay. A little slower for the guy with the video camera.